Alright, so we are on our way to the coffee shop now. We're going to do a little review on this bike. We're going to see what it feels like, what it's like to ride, some acceleration. I am such a big fan of this type of motorcycle. I just love the naked bike look, the cafe racer type look. And although this doesn't have the power that some of the bigger bikes do, it's really good fun just to putz around. It's something that's nice and easy to ride, something that you can start off on as a learner or even a beginner motorcyclist, and you can just have lots of fun. It's not intimidating to ride, nice and easy on the gears, everything's kind of straightforward, there's not too much on the screen to worry about. You've got a nice sort of clear view ahead of you. You're not kind of leaned over too much on the handlebars like you would be on something like a KTM or a full fairing bike. It just really is good fun to ride, and that's what I love about these 125cc's. They're nice and light, also light on fuel if that is something that you're worried about. And they make great commuters, really. I don't think I'd be doing super long distances with them, but just to go around to the shops or go for a coffee like we're doing now, absolutely perfect. The one drawback of obviously not having a full fairing is on a day like today where it's a little bit windy, you do get these kind of gusts that kind of push you back a little bit. So if you're doing higher speeds, you are definitely going to feel it, whereas on a full fairing bike with the screen, it's going to push all that wind straight over your head, so not too much to worry about, but not too bad actually. This bike is actually not too bad at all from first to second. Like, you can get up to speed really quickly. It's quite surprising actually. Gotta behave, there's police around. This is where this type of bike really does well. It's the town driving, through the traffic, nice and maneuverable, you can just flick it around. And that's why it appeals to the learner rider or the first time biker. It's an all-round good bike. Yes, it doesn't have the power, but you don't want that power in the beginning. You just want to kind of get used to it, get a good feel for biking, and that's what this is all about. This is where we're going to put these bikes to the test. We're going to check their 0 to 60. We're going to check some handling, some braking, and hopefully get some more votes for the Mondial. Gear change on this bike are really smooth, which is quite nice. The nice thing about this Mondial is that it's so simple. The layout, very easy to use. There's not too much going on the screen. You've got your revs, you've got your fuel gauge, you've got the time, you've got the mileage, and then you've got your temperature, and that's about it. Whereas on the KTM, it's quite nice that you've got a lot more functionality, but it does get a bit confusing. You have to try and press through everything, but the technology is there, whereas this is a lot simpler to use, nothing to faff about. You've got one button over here and that's it. Apparently this clock comes with it. I don't know, I don't understand why when there's a time on the speedo as well. I don't get it, but hey, Use it, don't use it. Maybe you can slap it onto your wrist if you want. Use it as its own watch. One of the things I did notice about this bike as well is that it's got dual braking. So when you press the back brake, it brakes both wheels at the same time, which I don't really like. It feels kind of weird. You can actually get the feedback in the front brake as well, which, yeah, it's just strange. Not something I'm used to, but apparently it's quite common in some bikes these days. The mirrors on this are dreadful, I must say. They also look like they belong on a knockoff Harley Davidson, but they've decided to put them on this thing, which I don't like at all. I think they'd be much better off with kind of the bar mounted mirrors, handlebar mounted mirrors here, not on the sides, but that's what it comes with. And off we go. The throttle feedback is quite nice as well, and it's quite responsive actually. And we wait again at another traffic light. Yeah, boy. Okay, we're gonna do a 0 to 60 here. As soon as the light turns green, we're going.
A few moments later.
How's your ride, Mark?
Alright guys, we are back at the barn after riding out on our two awesome bikes. I took the Mondial today and I have to say that I absolutely love it. I'm a big fan of this type of bike, this style of bike. I think it is super easy to ride. The quality is not as good as the KTM. There are a few niggly bits here that I thought, you know, like the controls and things like that. But obviously at this price point, this is a lot cheaper than the KTM, so you definitely can't compare. Like KTM has got a big following, they're a massive manufacturer. I know that Mondial has been around for a really long time, but I just think that they put more time and effort and money into the KTM. So what do I think about this bike overall? As I said, I think it's a great all-round bike. It's a great learner bike. These are only 125, so obviously we're not expecting big power, but around town they were awesome. They just accelerated quickly. You could get in and around traffic nice and easily. The gear changes were pretty slick, I thought, and just an easy bike to control and to maneuver around. So yeah, I think it's a great learner bike from 16 to 21-year-old, and even guys who are starting out in biking for their first bike. You know, it's just an easy bike to ride. The controls are nicely laid out. The speedo and the tack is just pretty straightforward. There's no fancy bits there like the KTM to get confused about. It's got all the basics that you need, and yeah, I would highly recommend this bike. I would say I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. I think that would be my personal rating, just because there are a few bits here that I think they could have done better on the quality. One of the things I didn't like about this bike was the dual braking system. I think it's a bit funny. It's not something that I'm used to, but I believe that a lot of the newer bikes come with that as well. I think it's a nice safety feature to have, but I just overall prefer it to be completely separate, front and rear brake. But again, that's a personal preference of mine, something that you guys might like on this bike. The looks on this bike I think are fantastic. I love this dual chrome exhaust system. I love this cafe racer style look. The seat, not super comfortable, but I think on the longer rides, I think you could get a bit uncomfortable on it. And I think the passenger on the back, when I went with Mario and I sat in the back here, the pillion seat is not great at all. But again, you're not going to be lifting people all the time, so it doesn't really matter. But overall, it's a great motorcycle. I think it's got some fantastic looks if you're into this type of thing. Mario prefers the superbike style looks.
Yep.
Again, personal preference. There wasn't much in terms of performance on the KTM versus the Mondial. It was really
No, they're
very closely matched.
Guys,
which
if you want to see that video, it's going to be released after this video. We've done the footage, we've done everything. Michael's just going to get his head down and get the footage out there. But if you want to see a comparison between the two 125s, please go watch that video. It's going to be released after this one. It's been filmed at the same time, so this video is going to be first. There is a comparison video.
There's
like
a
Mark
comparison.
says.
It's called the Battle of the 125s. So it's the KTM 125 versus the Mondial 125. The KTM,
Awesome bike.
yeah,
And you'll be surprised, people loved this bike over the KTM. We did a public audience
we did.
vote, random anyway.
Yeah.
And we had some coffee. We tried winning the hearts over of the people on the KTM at a coffee shop. They took to the Mondial. Anyway, those are tidbits of what to expect in the Battle of the 125s video. If you want to compare the two, great video, great footage. Mark, I think you're right. This Mondial is an awesome little starter bike. Besides, like you say, mirrors are a little bit niggly.
Yeah.
These are things you can change as accessories.
Absolutely.
And we've done it in our videos, guys. If you want to know how to change mirrors, if you want to know how to install bar ends, I've said it before, watch our videos, it's full content, because it's Menace rides, and we need to keep you guys occupied on a Friday night.